The call of the heart, the beginning of the chosen ones. It does not begin with thunder from the heavens, nor with radiant light piercing the skies. The journey of the chosen begins with something far simpler, a gentle voice echoing softly within the heart. It is not a clear invitation, but a quiet stirring, a feeling too deep for words, only understood by a heart longing for something beyond the ordinary rhythm of life. This call may come on a peaceful morning as sunlight kisses the eyelids, or in the darkest of nights soaked in tears of loss or confusion. Whether in joy or sorrow, the message is always the same. You were not born merely to survive, but to awaken. Not everyone hears this call. Life with its noise and demands dulls the mind and closes the spirit to such sacred signals. So though the call is always present, few truly listen. Only those with sensitive hearts, often the ones broken but still clinging to light, can recognize it and dare to follow. The chosen are not the most capable, but the most courageous. Courageous enough to abandon the known, to confront the great questions of life, and to walk a path that no one has yet carved. To answer the call is never easy, but it is the only choice that leads them home, back to their truest self. And from that moment, a sacred journey begins, not to chase glory, but to live in alignment with the soul. The purification, the quiet fire of the chosen. No one is given a sacred mission without first walking through fire. For the chosen, the journey never begins with glory. It begins with a silent shedding, a return of the soul to its original purity, so it can become a vessel of divine light. This is a painful yet essential phase where one must look inward at old wounds, buried fears, and the illusions of ego that once felt like truth. Every mask, every false sense of control or identity is stripped away, and only in the courage to release it all does the soul find true freedom. Purification is not an escape from darkness, but a walk straight into it, carrying the lamp of awareness. The chosen often pass through seasons of disorientation, loneliness, or crisis. Yet in those very moments, a light begins to flicker from within. Not because they overcome perfectly, but because they refuse to abandon themselves. This process isn't to make one better by the world's standards, but to refine the soul until it can mirror the divine with clarity and truth. This is purification for purpose, not for personal shine. Just like gold is only pure once it's been through fire, the chosen only become bearers of light once they've burned away all that is no longer real, no longer aligned. In this sacred pain of transformation, they rediscover themselves, whole, empty, and ready. The awakening of spiritual gifts, light emerging from darkness. When the fire of purification has burned deep enough, when the dust of ego, fear, and desire has been swept away, something miraculous begins to stir, the awakening of spiritual gifts. They don't arrive like dazzling miracles, but like quiet streams flowing from the cleansed depth of the soul. Some may suddenly find they can heal, not just with words or touch, but through the peace their presence brings. Others may sense the future, feel the shift of life's currents before they surface. Some develop an inner clarity that sees beyond illusions, perceiving truth beneath appearances. But none of these gifts are meant for pride or applause. They are sacred tools, granted to those humble enough to remember. They are the lantern bearers, not the light itself. These gifts bloom only when the soul has matured, when the self no longer acts from a need to prove, but from quiet readiness to serve. That is why spiritual gifts are not things we chase. They come when the heart is ready to give without asking anything in return. And then in a moment seemingly ordinary, the chosen realize they have changed. They no longer live for themselves alone. They see, feel, and act with new eyes, eyes of compassion, of truth, and of God. The balance between destiny and free will, walking the golden thread. Each chosen one carries within them a sacred map, a destiny written in light long before they were born. It's a path woven through countless turns, a divine mission planted like a seed in the soul, waiting for its season to sprout. But the map does not walk itself. It needs one thing: choice. Free will is one of God's greatest gifts to us, even to the chosen. You can turn away, you can hesitate. You can take a different route. God does not force the soul to follow the plan. He simply whispers, illuminates, and waits, patiently. And it is in this voluntary choice that the chosen begin to truly embody their calling. They are not dragged by fate. They step into it with love, courage, and devotion. They know they could say no, but choose yes, not because the road is easy, but because their soul cannot deny what is true. When free will and destiny align, when one chooses not from fear or ego, but from a deep knowing of sacred purpose, every step becomes effortless, as if floating downstream. This is the harmony between personal will and divine will. The chosen do not just walk the path, they become the path, writing their destiny not with ink, but with every act, every choice, and every sacred breath. The power of intuition, when the soul whispers to the divine. The chosen do not navigate life through the lens of logic alone. They walk by an invisible sight, the inner knowing of intuition, a sense that rises from the deepest part of the soul where reason has no reach, but truth lives. In a noisy, skeptical world, where decisions are ruled by data and analysis, intuition is often dismissed as unreliable. But for the chosen, it is not optional. It is the language of God speaking softly through the soul. It may come as a sudden unease, a strange dream, a chance encounter that somehow feels too meaningful to be random. These signs are not for attention, they are for alignment. The chosen learn to listen to what others call coincidences, to trust the inexplicable inner pull. They stop asking, "Why do I know this?" and begin trusting that what they know comes from a higher wisdom beyond themselves. But hearing intuition requires silence. It demands a letting go of the ego's need to control. It calls for stillness, creating space in the mind so heaven's whispers can echo through the soul. Trusting intuition is not blind faith. It is sacred confidence in a divine intelligence guiding from within. And when they follow this inner voice, life unfolds in harmony. The right door opens, the right person appears, the path clears without force. Intuition is not a luxury. It is the sacred compass of the chosen, a bridge between the soul and divine will, between where they are and where they were always meant to go. Service and selflessness. The chosen do not live for themselves. The chosen are not selected because they are more talented or more deserving. They are chosen because they are willing to become an empty vessel, humble enough to hold the light of God and pour it gently into a thirsty world. Their mission is not to stand out, it is to stand in love, wherever they are, whatever they do. They live with a quiet question echoing in their hearts. How can what I do today ease someone's pain, guide someone home, or remind someone they are not alone? Service for them is not an action, it is a state of being, where the ego no longer asks, "What's in it for me?" but instead, "What can I give from here?" And in that unconditioned giving, they are further purified. Their compassion deepens, their wisdom grows, their presence becomes a sanctuary. The chosen evolve not through worldly success, but through daily acts of selfless love expressed in the most ordinary ways. A kind word, a listening ear, a gaze filled with mercy. They understand that the spiritual gifts they hold are not for display, but for distribution, not to be admired, but to awaken the light in others. And beautifully, the more they give, the more they receive, not in material wealth, but in peace, in grace, in the quiet joy that only God can give. The mystery of divine timing, when everything arrives as a miracle, no matter how strong the calling or how ready the soul feels, the moment to act belongs to God. The chosen cannot rush it. They must learn the most sacred of virtues, patience. There are times when they feel prepared, hearts open, faith strong, spirit soaring. Yet the doors remain closed, unmoved, not because they are off path, but because it is not time. For the timing of the divine is never early, never late, but always perfect. Sacred timing unfolds when the soul is still enough, trust is deep enough, and the world is moved into its rightful rhythm to receive what is meant to come. In that moment, everything aligns, effortlessly, miraculously, as if the universe had been quietly waiting, holding its breath, for this precise second. The chosen must live between the longing to move and the wisdom to wait, for they understand impatience can pull them out of divine flow, turning blessings into burdens. Only when they release the ego's clock and surrender to heaven's hour do they receive the highest grace, to walk the right path at the right time with a ready soul. The mystery of timing is not about waiting, but about how we trust while we wait. Faith becomes the key that opens time's door, revealing what was always meant for us, never delayed, never denied, a silent light in the long night. The journey of the chosen is not paved with roses or stage lights. It is not glamorous, it is not easy. It is the path of shedding and rebirth, a journey of fire and silence, of surrender and rising. The chosen are not flawless. They too know fear, weariness, and stumbling. But what sets them apart is their willingness to face their inner shadows, willingness to release what no longer serves, willingness to learn, to grow, to walk, even when the path is unclear, willingness to serve, not for praise, but from love, and above all, willingness to trust the unseen hand guiding their steps. That quiet willingness is what transforms them into a candle in the night, radiating not through words, but through presence. They do not come to shine for themselves. They come to remind others that the same light sleeps within them too. And because of that, the world grows a little less dark, little by little, just enough for hope to begin blooming.